Welcome back to the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. On today's episode, we are diving deep into a breakdown of the Stanley Cup odds and some dark horse teams that you need to have your eye on because it's time to make this money, baby. It's only a one-game betting and DFS board, but you know I have a triple dip. Steele has a triple dip. Let's get to those picks around the corner and let's get this money.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on out there, everybody? Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single day. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast with Flip and Steele. Thank you so much for continuing to ride with us on the reboot of this show. I don't even know what episode it is anymore, and it doesn't matter because we are here Monday to Friday every single week feeding you what you need to know about the fantasy hockey world, DFS targets, and of course, big-time bets. All of that coming up on today's show. Even though it's only a one-game board, Steele, we still have some action to talk about. And what's more exciting, which what we'll be talking about for most of today's show, is breaking down some Stanley Cup dark horse teams that still have some really interesting odds to win the Cup. Speaking of odds, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline, it has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. Steele, we've been making a little bit of money the past couple of days, bouncing back a little bit. This is what we do here, and I'm excited to take a look at these. You know I like me some futures bets. Playoffs are looming, my friend. Let's talk about it. Couple of teams here that, sure, dark horse, gonna have to go on a deep run, but we know this, and I was going to make this point. Playoffs are a brand new season, pal, so let's hear who you're having a look at for your dark horse teams.
Well, you've been killing me. You making all the money, so I need to step it up with these dark horse teams and these future bets for the Stanley Cup odds. But let's start in the Eastern Conference because I think this is probably the toughest division heading into the first round. The Metropolitan Division is by far, to me, the toughest out of all the divisions. Yes. And my dark horse team is actually the New York Rangers. And to me, I think it's a little bit funny that I'm naming the New York Rangers as a dark horse team because, you know, they're tied for first in their division. They could end up being first in their division. But for me, this is a team that missed the playoffs last year by 11 points. And I know that last year, again, in those, you know, reshuffled divisions, they were probably in the toughest division again, but they missed the playoffs last year by 11 points. And going into the first round, the Rangers, you know, whether they're in first or second in their division, they're either going up against the Pittsburgh Penguins, Tampa Bay Lightning, or the Boston Bruins. Some of the toughest matchups in the first round, especially if they do finish first and end up against the Tampa Bay Lightning, the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. So for me, no matter what, going into the first round, they're going to be facing a top 10 goalie in the league so far this season, whether it's Andrei Vasilevskiy, Jeremy Swayman, you know, Tristan Jarry as well. And then even to the second round, you can throw Frederik Andersen in there. But this very, very, very tough division, especially going in the first round. They made the right moves at the trade deadline, acquiring Andrew Kopp, Tyler Mott. Their defensive game is a lot better this season with Adam Fox and Jacob Trouba. They're getting some serious goaltending out of Igor Shesterkin, probably the favorite to win the Vezina Trophy this season, but he's only played one playoff game so far in his career.
Great point.
You know, there's not a lot of experience on the side of Shesterkin going into the postseason. That's why I'm naming the New York Rangers as my dark horse. They have a lot to live up. I had a lot of expectations for them last season, and I have even more expectations going into the postseason this year.
I think dark horse is a little bit of a loose term here, but the point remains is the value here for some of these teams. You know, like I'm taking a look at the Pittsburgh Penguins. You just mentioned them, plus 1,600. You know, my other team, you know, I'll get to that in a minute for the West, has even greater odds. I'm not telling you to go out there and put a pink slip down. You know, don't put your car payment down. Throw a $15, $20, $25 bet. You never know what can happen. And like I said, and I'll probably say it again on this episode, you hear it from NHL coaches, players, and GMs all the time. Getting in there is one thing. Winning in the playoffs is another, and anything can happen. That's why I'm really loving Steele, the options here for the Pittsburgh Penguins at plus 1,600. Look, the first round is going to be a bloodbath. Some teams are going to be left out that are really good, that are definitely, better than first round exits, but that's just the nature of the beast. And where my strength lies in the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I think it's clear, is the depth up front. And I know they're struggling right now, which makes this a bit of a hard sell and will actually give you better odds at this point. So tease, there you go.
Yeah.
Think big Flip's tip of the night. 4-game losing streak, they're not looking good, Steele. That's clear. You actually called them out for a lack of secondary scoring. They went out and got Raquel. He hasn't been good enough. You called that out too. So really for me, the depth here, the offensive talent up front, Sid, Malkin, Gensel, great supporting cast, but they need to be good. They need to be better, and they need to turn it around in the next week or so. And I think if they can do that, though, Steele, Jeff Carter, Evgeny Malkin, Sidney Crosby up the middle. Carter is winning his faceoffs this year at a 57% clip. Possession in the playoffs is huge. I think if this bottom six can turn it around a little bit for the Pens, a team that, with Tristan Jarry being as good as he's been this year, man, could that be a really tough first round out. A lot of them, though, really. Like, you can't go wrong in that Metro.
Yeah. A lot of the first round playoffs, especially in the Eastern Conference, are going to be where my eyes are going to be focused on. Out west, obviously the Colorado matchup in the first round, whoever they get, that one's probably going to be easy breezy for the Avalanche. But you're totally right. And I did forget to mention the Rangers are at plus 1,300 as of right now, so some serious odds for them as well. And with the way Igor Shesterkin, Tristan Jarry, those guys are playing, you can't go wrong with either of those teams at those odds. But the team out west that I'm looking at, and I've mentioned this a couple of times for my dark horse, it's the Minnesota Wild. And unless something drastic is to happen with the remaining games in the regular season, we just witnessed the first matchup between the Minnesota Wild and the St. Louis Blues just a couple of days ago. So
great game.
Absolutely great game. Fundamentally, the Wild broke down in the third period. Let Cam Talbot out to dry, and just a very tough loss in overtime. But a couple of great goals from the St. Louis Blues team in that game as well. So you can't fault Cam Talbot for any of those. But look, the way I'm looking at this is not a lot of people take the Minnesota Wild very seriously.
True.
Even in the regular season, especially in the postseason. I'm looking at it this way. Kirill Kaprizov is a superstar in this league. There's no question about it in my mind anymore. He's an absolute superstar in this league. Most points in a season in the entire organization, in the history of the organization. He's 2 goals away from having the most goals in a season as well in the entire organization as well. So he's breaking records right now. He's got 86, 87 points on the season. They have a ton of guys having career years this season. Marcus Foligno, Kevin Fiala, Matt Zuccarello's up there for the most assists in franchise history as well this season. They're having a ton of guys step out of their shell a little bit. I like the way they've shuffled their bottom 6 forwards, especially with the acquisitions at the trade deadline. Marc-Andre Fleury, we've talked about him countless of times alongside Cam Talbot. Their goaltending's a lot better going into the postseason. But it's going to be a tough matchup against the St. Louis Blues. They are my dark horse. And if they can kind of clean up the defensive game a little bit that they've missed, against the St. Louis Blues and the Nashville Predators in their last 2 games, they're going to be a team that makes a deep playoff run this year. And they're at plus 1,800 right now. I sprinkled $10 on them at plus 1,800. So the odds are very, very juicy right now.
There's 2 things I like about what you just said. One, you're staying to your roots about the 2 teams that you've talked up a lot, which I respect in the Rangers and the Wild. You've been true to your roots on that. So props due to you on that. And I think what you really, knocked out of the park in terms of a point is Kirill Kaprizov being the superstar that this team has lacked, a true bona fide, give that guy the puck and he's going to turn it around for us. They have that now. They got tougher. They got bigger. They got more experienced in their bottom 6. The blue line is very underrated and arguably, one of the best goaltending duos now in the league with those 2 goalies. So, check. They check all the boxes. So that's one of those teams, Steele, that if they can get past the first, I swear to God, this year, the first round is really going to quickly separate. You know what I mean? It's going to be a bloodbath. So it's going to be interesting. At the end of the day, the playoffs are right around the corner. Stay tuned and keep it locked right here on our channel, our Twitter, for everything that you need. Betting-wise, analysis, fantasy breakdowns. Steele and I are going to be cranking out the content in the lead up to the playoffs and throughout the playoffs. So make sure you keep it locked right here. Keep it locked right here for a couple other bets later on in the show. But right now, I need to talk about some product that is really helping me at the gym, at home. It's Athletic Greens. It's a brand new product around here, and it's helping me stay energized and healthy. What is it? One delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, and you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals. It's a whole food source, straight superfoods, probiotics, everything that you need to start your day right. It's a special blend of ingredients that support your health and even help you focus, recover, and age with grace. What's not to like? Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you 1 free year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Thank you for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every day. For your next listen, go check out the Locked On Now podcast, nightly recaps of every NHL game with analysis from our local experts. You don't want to miss out on the highlights. It's free and available wherever you get your podcasts, just like this podcast right here. So please make sure you hit the follow, hit the subscribe, and once you do, you will get the latest episodes of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast as soon as they are available each and every day, Monday to Friday. Flip, we're going to get to your dark horse in the Western Conference real quick. But before we get there, I just wanted to mention this. I was reading on Twitter or Instagram the other day that, this is a hot take. So this might be a conversation that we can have on a future podcast or future episode. Someone said that Kirill Kaprizov is the best active Russian in the NHL right now. Beside Alex Ovechkin, Artemi Panarin, a couple of other Russians out there in the league. That could be a very, very interesting conversation to have in the future. Who's the best active Russian in the NHL right now? Yes. But like I said, we'll leave that for another episode. Yes. Let's get to your dark horse in the Western Conference.
I like it a lot, and I don't think it's a stretch either. So let's leave it at that. Let's leave it at that. Look, at the end of the day, I think what's important about what I have to mention about this team, the Nashville Predators, and the spot that they sit in, is they're going to have to go through Calgary or Colorado if they remain a wild card team, which it's most likely. They're 6 points out of the third spot in the division. I'm going to say they end up as a wild card team. I'm not going to go crazy here and say that they're going to make it and then improve their seeding. I think they remain a wild card team, which means Calgary or Colorado in the first round. So I'll be very honest and clear that that's going to be a big hurdle to climb. But like I said, new season, anything can happen. And when you have the makeup of the team that the Nashville Predators have, I think they deserve a little bit more credit. And due to the fact that they are a wild card team, Steele, and hey, anything can happen between now and then. They could fall right out of it. Who knows? Right? Realistically, that's why the odds at plus 4,500 are so juicy, because like you mentioned, the East is much more solidified. We know the teams that are in there. It's really just a matter of where do they fall. The West is still much more open. So at plus 4,500, I understand that the Preds are more of a long shot, but hang with me here, Steele, because we've given this team the credit it deserves a little bit, but I think overall they have what it takes to make some noise in the playoffs. Awesome top line that has been deadly this year. Ryan Johansson, Philip Forsberg, Matt Duchene, they're scoring with the best of them. You need a line in the playoffs that can turn the page for you in a heartbeat. Without that, you don't win. They have that. Arguably the best defenseman in the league in Roman Josi. If it's not for Cale Makar, this guy has the Norris. That's saying something. And UC Saros is a top 10 in all major categories. And I wanted to show him some love. 35, 22, and 3. And a 921 save percentage. That's more than good enough to be a goalie that can steal you a series. Will he do it? I don't know. But they have all the makings, Steele, to definitely make some noise in the playoffs. Can they do that against Colorado? I don't know. That's why I'm really hoping they hold down the current spot they're in. Draw Calgary, And this team against Calgary, I'm saying that's a 7-game series, and I don't know who wins it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. The one thing I am kind of, distancing myself from what you said is
Please.
you and
Let's
I have
hear
both
it.
agreed the last couple of months that Cale Makar is a lock for the Norris Trophy. I don't think he's a lock anymore. I think Roman Yossi's right up there with him, and it's up for debate. It's a coin flip at this. The way that Roman Yossi has played in the last couple of weeks, breaking records. I think he's 12 points away from 100 this season. So
that's crazy.
I think Roman Yossi deserves the recognition and should be in the conversation. I don't think Cale Makar has it locked down, but I do like your choice with the Nashville Predators as a dark horse. If they go up against Colorado, it's definitely a tougher position. But against Calgary, we've seen Calgary get tossed in the first round countless times, being swept countless times. So I like the angle that you have going. Let's jump over to the DFS segment. We've only got one game on the schedule for Monday night. The Montreal Canadiens taking on the Winnipeg Jets. And look, there's only one game, so there's not a lot of selections out there, but there's guys on both teams that you can pick from the Montreal Canadiens. I'm looking at Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield. Those are about the only two players from the Montreal Canadiens that you can choose from. They've been playing a lot better, but those are the only two solid forwards or players for that matter that the Montreal Canadiens have. They're going to be upwards of probably 55 to 6,000 if I had to assume what the price range would be for those guys. And on the other side of things for the Winnipeg Jets, Neil Pionk, Kyle Connor, Pierre-Luc Dubois. I'm filling out my second line on the Winnipeg Jets. I could also toss Evgeny Svechnikov in there as well because he's on the second line, and that would just be another cheap option. But I'm really looking at Kyle Connor and Pierre-Luc Dubois. And those guys are going to probably be around, Dubois probably around 5,000. Kyle Connor looking probably higher, paying the premium price, but you get exactly what you pay for. The guy's an absolute stud.
Hey, man, Monday night, one game. There really is not much to talk about here other than what you had just mentioned. And I will say this, Winnipeg on the back end, second night of a back-to-back here. Also, Montreal, Jake Allen left the game against Toronto the other night. Probably going to be Sam Montembeault in there. Probably going to be the backup. I know it's Comrie, right, for Winnipeg. He's a decent backup. But I'm loving this spot for a high-scoring game. Stay tuned for my big-time bets in a couple of seconds here, Steele. But I really think that's all really to say here in this one, DFS-wise.
Yeah, for the DFS selections. But I do want to ask you this. We were just talking about, Cale Makar, Roman Yossi, the Norris Trophy. Looking at what Cole Caulfield has been able to do under Martin St. Louis since he's taken over back in early February, he's got 30 points. He's got 30 points in 23 games under Martin St. Louis. He has played a significant less amount of games than the other Calder Trophy finalists or, in the race for the Calder Trophy. Trevor Zegras, Michael Bunting, Lucas Raymond, Moritz Seider, all those guys. He has played about 12 to 15 games less, but do you think Cole Caulfield should be in consideration for the Calder Trophy?
It's a really great question, Steele, honestly, and I think we should be doing this kind of thing more on the show and throwing out these questions because it's an interesting topic right now because at the end of the day, my answer is the way the NHL goes, I'm going to say he doesn't get any consideration, but I think he should because when it comes to just the talent, pure talent, games and, the bureaucratic BS that the NHL will run aside, this guy turns the page. He's a scorer. He's a shooter.
Yeah.
And if he does fill out and have more games, I think for sure he gets a look because I think what matters at the end of the day with this trophy is his talent good enough? And I think the answer is clearly yes. So those numbers also can't be denied in 30 games. Him clicking with Nick Suzuki, if they can fill out the rest of that top six in Montreal, that's a very dynamic duo that is just waiting to explode.
Yeah, so I completely agree with you as well. Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think he should be considered for the Calder Trophy. I think he'll win, but I think he'll definitely be top 4 in the voting. I still think it's between Michael Bunting. Yeah, he definitely deserves the recognition. I still think it's between Moritz Seider and Michael Bunting at this point. Even Trevor Zegras and Lucas Raymond are up there. I still think it's between those two guys. But the way Cole Caulfield has played since Martin St. Louis is coming to the organization. You can't be denied that he should be considered, and he's been electrifying to watch out there. So definitely keep some odds out for Cole Caulfield moving forward. We should look and keep an eye out for those odds. Is BetOnline.net, your number one source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest sports developments, including this year's basketball's playoffs and the start of the Major League Baseball season. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, including live betting, esports, and scores. Head to the website today or use their mobile device to learn more about the trends and actions. BetOnline, where the game starts. I also got to let you know about this other sponsor we have. They are absolutely fantastic, bringing us delicious treats before and after we work out, and that is Built Bar. Built Bar are covered in 100% real chocolate, and I love this because of the grams of protein. 17 grams of protein, 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar. I eat this every time after I work out and sometimes before I work out just to give me a little extra bit of boost for my workout session. But I love this product because of all the different flavors they have. Coconut almond, peanut butter brownie, raspberry, cookies and cream, salted caramel, mint brownie, and many, many more. In fact, Built is always coming out with new limited time flavors like yellow chirps, brownie batter, raspberry cheesecake, and caramel almond delight. So check out Built.com often to see what they come out with that's new. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15, and get 15% off your order. I'll say it one more time. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Thank you for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every day. Don't forget, we are free and available on all platforms, which also includes YouTube. So make sure you hit the subscribe and the follow button. Flip and I appreciate all the love and support out there. So thank you so much for riding with us on the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Flip, with that being said, I mentioned this before, only one game on the schedule, so not a lot to talk about for big-time bets, but we're still going to find some different bets out there that you can toss sprinkle some money on, and perhaps win some money to bring home back to the wife, the husband, whoever's waiting for you at home. Flip, we both got a triple dip here. I'll throw to you. What do you got first?
Listen, I actually really like these 3 picks, and obviously we don't have anywhere else to go, so maybe I'm building them up in my own head a little bit. But honestly, this is a tough spot for Winnipeg, and I know Montreal has not played great, but, the other night against Toronto, they could have had that game. They could have easily had that one. That was a tight game. Winnipeg has lost 4 straight coming into the time of this recording. They play tonight. I think they play tonight against Ottawa. And they just look downright bad against Steele. They look bad like they did at the start of the year. And I think this is just a really good time to fade them. Also, I love this spot for the Montreal Canadiens, who got embarrassed last time by Winnipeg. Winnipeg hung an 8 spot on them. And I know Montreal is Montreal this year, but they're still a competitive team under Marty St. Louis. And I know they've struggled, but this is a good spot for them. Canadiens on the money line. We talked about Jake Allen being out. We talked about a backup probably being in for Winnipeg. I like this over as well. I'm seeing it out there at 5.5, so you can definitely get it at 6 where I'm going to take it. I like the over as well, Steele. And I'll finish with my lock of the night quick before throwing it back to you. The main reason that you tune in to this team right now is Cole Caulfield and Nick Suzuki. Nick Suzuki has 7 points in his last 8 games, including 6 assists. You know I love me some anytime assist action. So give me Nick Suzuki, anytime assist for my lock of the night on another big flip, triple dip special.
Flip, I thought we were going to have the exact same 3 bets here because I've went in the exact same direction as you. I've got the Canadiens on the money line. You mentioned it. The second game of a back-to-back for the Winnipeg Jets. They're on a 4-game losing streak. You said it all. Canadiens on the money line. That's my first pick. Second pick of the night. You're talking about Nick Suzuki with an anytime assist. I'm talking Cole Caulfield anytime goal. Those on that first line, the chemistry is undeniable. Nick Suzuki, he'll find Cole Caulfield. We'll both hit our bets that way. And then my lock of the night, you mentioned it. This could be a very high-scoring game. I'm taking the over at 6 goals as well. That is my lock of the night for Monday.
Yes. Steele, this is one of those spots. If our boy Cam Smith makes a little comeback today on the Lynx, I'm going hard in the paint on this triple dip, pal. So let's just stay tuned for some awesome Masters action. Enjoy today's episode, people, and good luck with everything tonight. Steele, take it away, my friend.
Look, with the way that you've been, I've struggled the last 2 weeks. There's no denying that. The way you've been rolling with the picks, I didn't know what you were going to go with, but I'm glad that we're on the same page because this looks like it's about to be a turnaround, a TSN turning point for myself with the big time bets.
Copyright.
So, copyright. We'll see what happens. But look, I need to turn things around, and I'm hoping the Montreal Canadiens can do it for me. But thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, making it your first listen every day. If you want more gambling advice on what you should pick, but for not just hockey, make your second listen Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets. It's hosted by your boy Q with insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all podcast platforms, just like this podcast right here. So hit the subscribe, hit the follow button. Once you do, you will get the latest episodes of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast as soon as they're available each and every single day, Monday to Friday, 7 o'clock in the morning Eastern time. So keep your eyes peeled for every new episode. Thank you for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with all your bets out there, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.